Alrighty, well, everyone, thanks again for joining us for today's webinar, Preparing for Prime Day 2018. Now, this is a topic that I'm personally really excited about because there's so much buzz about it on the consumer side that I think it gets a little bit lost how much effort and preparation goes into making the days leading up to, the day of, and the days after Prime Day successful for Amazon sellers. So it looks like we already have a couple thousand of you already on the webinar today. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And now, before we jump into the actual presentation, I just want to set the stage for what we're going to be covering today. So we'll kick off the introductions for myself and for our lovely presenter. Then we'll talk about preparing for success for Prime Day. Developing a strategy leading up to the day and after is absolutely critical to being successful on Prime Day. Next, we'll discuss, what are you specifically going to sell or not sell on Amazon. So that's gonna be a lot of discussion around inventory, and you want to prepare for us to sound kind of like a broken record here, because I know Jesse and I both personally believe that managing inventory and preparing your inventory is one of, if not the most important piece of being successful around Prime Day. And then lastly, we'll wrap up by discussing how to develop an effective pricing strategy, both for the products that are eligible for your Prime Day deals, as well as for the rest of your catalog, because this is something that we're also going to harp on throughout the presentation. It's not just about your what happens on Prime Day and those deals that are going through lightning deals perhaps, but what does the rest of your catalog look like? Are you prepared to take advantage of all of the attention that comes with Prime Day? And just as a quick refresher for those of you who may not be as familiar with Feedvisor as a few of our current customers are, that looks like it are on the webinar today, just wanted to give a brief overview of how we're helping Amazon sellers like yourself. So Feedvisor helps competitive sellers stand out in the Amazon marketplace. So for those of you who do know a lot about Feedvisor, much of what we're known for today and historically has been our world-class award-winning repricer. It's what we're known for. It's what we've built our business upon. But we're also absolute experts in terms of the reporting side of Amazon and developing deep intelligence into Amazon sellers' businesses to be able to track, all of the thousands and hundreds of thousands of constantly changing variables in the marketplace. And lastly, the big pillar of our team, and I know Jesse will sing their praises night and day, but our team of e-commerce experts on our customer success side is, far and away unparalleled in the market. These people are, former Amazonians or e-commerce experts that essentially function as an extension of your business to help you make smarter decisions. So now we'll get into the introductions. So for those of you who have attended Feedvisor webinars in the past, and it looks like there are a couple hundred of you on here, you may notice that your host voice sounds a little bit different than normal. Our normal webinar expert, Gabby Young, is actually expecting a newborn baby in the coming days, and she asked me to step in for her today. So I appreciate you all bearing with me on this presentation. My name is Andrew McGonigal. I'm one of Gabby's colleagues on the marketing team. I love talking about everything e-commerce, Amazon, and I also enjoy the occasional long romantic walk on the beach. I'm also joined today by my good friend and coworker, and just generally an all-around great guy, Jesse Hom. Jesse leads our team of account executives, and he literally speaks with dozens of Amazon sellers every single week. And so he completely empathizes and understands the problems that you guys are facing. And I'm going to let him go ahead and introduce himself and share off that silky smooth voice.
Hey guys, Glad to be here. Just as Andrew mentioned, I think everyone here at Feedvisor gets excited about speaking to Amazon sellers challenges, what we do, hearing about what other people are doing too. So an opportunity to speak to you all was one that I jumped at. As far as background here, it is very similar to Andrew. Long walks on the beach. Usually it's the two of us, very lonely, contemplative. But we're friends and partners here too. So looking forward to the rest of the conversation.
Excellent, excellent introduction, Jesse. Well done. All right, so now that those awkward intros are out of the way, we can go ahead and get started with what you guys are all here for. So, one thing that I do want to mention, and this is my last thing before we go ahead and get started with the full presentation, is that Jesse and I could literally sit up here all day and discuss every single nuance and scenario for Prime Day. We know that. And this is something that is a part of our ethos here at Feedvisor. We know that every single seller is unique, every single SKU is unique, and every single situation is unique. And since we're not going to be able to cover all of those scenarios, especially pertaining to Prime Day, we want to be able to give you that opportunity to connect with one of our internal experts and ask any questions that you may have, whether it's about Prime Day, whether it's about Feedvisor, whether it's about just generally selling on Amazon. Our team is here to listen to you. So I'm just going to open up a quick poll here. And if you are interested in hearing from one of our experts, just select one of the options below. And and then I'll make sure that a member of our team follows up with you in the coming days. So I'm just going to give that a couple minutes for you guys to drop in your responses. I wish I had some hold music to play, but unfortunately, that was the one thing that we didn't plan for ahead of time. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close the poll, and I'll make sure to open this up again later on in case you guys would like to drop your information in there later. Okay, so just want to make sure that I'm still sharing my screen, so everything looks good here. Great. Okay, so with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and hand things over to Jesse to get started with the meat of our presentation.
All right, guys. So looking at the attendee list, I'm seeing some of my clients, some familiar names here. Understand many of you guys have been participating in Prime Day on Amazon, long tenures here. So some of the upfront stuff is 101, but still things that I think just due diligence makes sense to address. So again, many of the things around preparation for Prime Day coincide with general best practices for Amazon sellers. But with all the added traffic, we're put under a microscope here. Hopefully we do get some of the well-deserved added profit, but again, making sure we're running very smoothly is essential. I'm sure everybody on today's webinar knows the need and benefit for optimized product listings. However, whether it's a bandwidth issue or just neglect for items that fall outside our maybe top 20% revenue generators, there are times when we end up with less than perfect listings. Whether it's picking up on sales lift, liquidating on Prime Day, let's make sure we have any focus items listed with high resolution images, ideally even different angles. This is one of the occasions where more is definitely better. For tags and descriptions, let's make sure it's detailed again. Yes, we have deals, maybe even lightning deals, but the added effort can make the difference between extra sales conversions. I know it might seem even unnecessary for the focuses around liquidation, but if the goal is there, then the effort should be there too. When outside of selling even your products in the best light, having a compelling description, what sort of strategies do we have to maximize that traffic? Are we putting dollars into things like ad campaigns? Are we precisely budgeted to our capacity to offer deals? Maybe we're even offering deals at a loss in order to pick up future traffic on items. Financial plan needs to be sound. Here our customer success team focuses on empowering our sellers with the data to make those sound decisions very easily. I know with Seller Central being what it is, the amount of data there is to really start to analyze can end up like when my fiance asked me to put together a financial plan or to review our finances, easily neglected. As far as that goes too, diversification, it's also hard to predict where an Amazon win is coming next. Making sure you can diversify your spend or strategy will give us a much better shot at success. Do we qualify for lightning deals? How many of our competitors qualify, and how many of them do we plan on seeing under the same deals? What items hold the most competition, and how can we really get creative to get to our plans or get to our goals? Even if we're a private label, are you doing an ad campaign alongside a deal, maybe trying to turbocharge a sales rank uplift? How will your efforts best benefit you on Prime Day? To me, Prime Day is great, but the halo effect, the after resounding effect, is what's going to make the difference between a mediocre Prime Day and a hugely successful one. Even if Prime Day isn't specifically the focus, let's make the best of that after period. Maybe you don't pick up much on added profit on Prime Day, but if you understand the space you're selling in and can make smart predictions, you can pick up on the efforts of your competitors. All right, guys, last of the basics here. Are we ready on a software or human personnel level? Ideally, we have the right software that will allow you to run the most efficient and successful business, and there's a cohesive dialogue going on between all parts. If we have an inventory system, is it speaking to our repricer? Is it happening in real time across a changing price landscape? Are these things you're planning for? What softwares might best benefit you during the time, or what might just be best for an overall successful business that maybe we've neglected till a time like now? This is a great day for potential growth, but it's also a day that can significantly set you back if we're not managing fulfillment channels properly. Late arrivals on merchant fulfilled orders, running out of stock, not being familiar with maybe new fulfillment methods like seller fulfilled Prime, we don't want to be hanging our head. Even if we are just a lean team here, maybe you have a super high Amazon IQ, haven't hit that threshold for upper ceiling yet, do you need extra hands to support you? This is a time we need to plan for.
Yeah, Jesse, thanks for letting me jump in for a second here. So I had one thing to mention, and then I actually had a follow-up question for you, Jesse. So I should have mentioned this at the beginning, and I apologize for that. This is my novice showing. So this webinar will be recorded and will be available afterwards. So those of you who are asking for the recording, this will be sent to you via email in the coming days following the event. And then I actually had a follow-up question for you, Jesse. The interesting thing to me here is when we're talking about Prime Day specifically, for most people on the webinar know, or at least should know, that the those lightning deals, it's only the FBA and SFP products that are available for that. So why is it important to think about FBM when you're talking about Prime Day?
Gotcha, and that's a good question too. So whether it's Prime Day specific deals like lightning deals, or we're just trying to capture on what is going to be a very heightened traffic state, if you're putting together a plan to sell more of your products, maybe at a greater potential or maybe at a lighter one to uprank here, in understanding the potential of the day and then capitalizing on that specific day and after, if you're a successful Amazon business owner, you probably see the potential. It's just planning for it too. Sales ranks will go up. Sales will continue to flow at a higher stream after the date. This is a time where we can really capitalize. We don't get thrown a bone bunch as Amazon sellers, and when we do, it's time to make sure that we're prepared for it. Hopefully that answered your question.
Yep. Thank you, Jesse.
All right. Well, now that we have the basics around, what we need to do, what we need to be prepared for, it's what we are selling or what we're not selling. Sounds like some pretty basic stuff here, right? But there's a lot more to contemplate. How are you leveraging Prime Day against your inventory? What are even your requirements for each listing as it relates to your velocity over profitability? Do you have a SKU by SKU strategy for all of your items? Many of my conversations here at Feedvisor are directly related to making sure each item you sell has the necessary attention and supports you as a successful business owner in the same way you're doing for maybe your top listings. Do you have items that haven't sold in 30 days, 60 days, 120? Do we even have specified requirements for what's acceptable and what's not for each item? Are you regularly tracking the trajectory of your selling velocity for every item you sell? How often are you running these reports? Are you incurring or facing future Amazon fees? These are things, guys, I know it's tough. We're real busy. The capabilities around reporting are always tough. It's going to be a shameless plug, but it's really where I see people being helped out the most, eliminating those blind spots, being able to make strong strategic decisions easily. Talk to someone here. I know this can be painful, or I should say could be, but things we're addressing for our clients. It might be time to put together a value plan. Again, outside of Prime Day, this is probably a best practice as well, but it's days like these that will shine the light on some of the dirty corners that maybe we neglect.
Yeah, and just another follow-up question here. So I couldn't help but notice, Jesse, you were talking about Feedvisor with regards to inventory. And for those of you who are familiar with Feedvisor, you're probably thinking of us as repricer, reporting, revenue intelligence. So it's interesting to me to hear how the team here is able to help with inventory management. Can you speak a little bit about what the team here does with regards to inventory?
Yeah, no problem. And I think that kind of leans towards your introduction, where traditionally Feedvisor has been looked at what is a best-in-class repricer solution. What we've done to pivot off that to move into a stage of true revenue intelligence really has to do with capabilities around analyzing your data. So leaning on your success team, being given the proper tools to be able to look at things like I mentioned. Maybe it's the number of SKUs that aren't contributing at a certain sector of time. What sort of inventory value do we have tied up? That's money that could be reinvested into already largely selling SKUs, maybe even new ones. Being able to pivot off what you're already doing as a successful business owner and give you direction to blind spots or even easy avenues for greater success. We're trying to focus and enable our sellers in every way we can. All right.
Great, thanks, Jesse.
Yeah, and again, on the inventory side, outside of time on the shelf, do you have items that you're maybe items non-replenishable, ones that will go out of production? Do you have a strategic plan for those? Again, it's SKU by SKU. Almost every large seller I talk to has different requirements or goals for vastly different items or subsets of items to be sold. This is something that we try our hardest to address. Outside of items for maybe liquidation or preparation, do you have plans for stop loss? Like we talked about with the halo effect here, there's going to be huge opportunity after Prime Day itself. Do you have a plan of how many items can be sold or you're willing to sell with the right idea of what after we need to do to accomplish that same ride the wave, pick up on profits where we can? We need to make sure that everything is well planned out to make sure we do have as much success as we can. Perfect. So coming down to the pricing strategy, right? Again, it really comes to SKU by SKU. Do you have the right data to enable or to empower you to make decisions around what your potential is? How much money is being driven through every single ASIN you're selling under? What does it look like for us as far as what we need to do? Is there a velocity play here? It's about being as strategic as possible and understanding the potential for every single one of your SKUs. Almost all our sellers here that are highly focused on liquidation, there is also play for a competitive side as well. So if we have high moving items, again, too, this goes towards our halo effect. Are we going to sit off and wait, allow others to bring our uprank in sales to a higher point that later on down the line we can accomplish greater profits? Have we looked at the different categories that we have for selling to say, for items that maybe frequency is still very important, but we have a profit or revenue must have, do we have the availability or the insight to say, as long as we're at a certain goal that continues to grow our business on the cash flow side, can we continue on in a more profitable way?
Yeah, Jesse, just want to jump in for a second. You mentioned a couple of times this this concept of a halo effect, and I think we touched on it on the inventory side, which makes a lot of sense to me because if you're expecting, there's obviously that increased demand when on Prime Day itself, but there's also, you know, you're expecting increased demand in the days and weeks afterwards. What does that mean from a pricing strategy perspective? Like, why do we need to be aware of the halo effect for pricing strategy?
That's a good question too. Ultimately for sellers, right, the goal is being as profitable as possible. On Prime Day, you know, we're moving more items, and at a higher velocity, a lower profit margin is okay. In understanding what can be accomplished after that stage in a halo or, you know, any vastly quicker moving product scenario, it's who do we have on a competitive landscape. You are all probably much more familiar than any of us could be of what that looks like from a steady competition standpoint to those, again, that are, you know, the regular lightning sellers. And if we can understand what it will look like after Prime Day and stretch profits where it makes sense, that's really what we do here at Feedvisor. And again, more of a shameless plug when talking to our larger sellers and understand the capacity of not just the largest selling items, but whether it's 1,000 different listings you have to 100,000 different listings. What's the appropriate attention, and how do we optimize our businesses across all those different selling? All right, for flexibility, this is a ever-moving target, right? So what is right now the greatest profit potential to what will be moments from now? How do we properly calculate what the pinpoint is for profitability across all those changing data points? Again, this is something maybe some of us do manage manually, maybe some of us are leveraging software here, but on higher traffic, that means that target's moving much quicker. There's times where we can capitalize and there's times where we drop the ball. This is going to be a time, if we're prepared correctly, we can see extreme growth on the profit side.
Great. All right. Thank you, Jesse. I believe that's most of what we wanted to get to today, unless, yeah, so I think that's what majority of what we wanted to get to today. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to cut this a little. We may not actually be able to take all of these questions here, but I can definitely collect this information and follow up with all of you afterwards. I hope you guys all enjoyed the presentation. We really appreciate you all joining us today. I'm going to open up one last poll, just for those of you who are interested in learning more about how Feedvisor can help you, you know, like I said, with your Amazon store in general, with and around Prime Day, and if it, you know, if it's with regards to reporting or revenue intelligence, and again, just general information related to Feedvisor. Please fill out this poll. We'd be happy to speak with you. And again, if you have any questions that are specific to Prime Day that we weren't able to cover in this session, drop a response in the poll and our team will get back to you. And again, like I mentioned earlier on in the presentation when we were first getting started, we know that there are so many unique scenarios for Prime Day. It's almost impossible to cover every single specific strategy. I think the biggest takeaway for Jesse and I as we were preparing for this presentation, and we were really, sitting down together after talking with customers and other Amazon sellers, the one thing that we really came to find was that you really need to develop a very specific strategy for your business, for your inventory, for your team, for your software, and for your profit strategy. There's a lot of tools out there to help you get better in those certain areas. We personally, maybe selfishly, believe that we're the best partners on the market, obviously from a repricing standpoint and a reporting standpoint, but just from a general Amazon partner to help you grow your business and win on specific days and events like Prime Day. We're the people there to help you. So we'd love to hear from you all. If you have any specific questions and you'd like to reach out directly to Jesse, he's a super friendly guy. I hope that came across on his presentation. So you can drop him a line. His email is up there on the screen. You should be able to see it now. You can contact him at jesse.hom@feedvisor.com. You can also give him a ring on his phone. That's his personal cell phone. He will answer at any time, day or night. He just likes talking to people. So if you want to talk to him about, travel, food recommendations, yeah, or if you just wanted like a new friend or anything like that, feel free to give him a call and he'd be happy to talk to you. I'm going to put this poll up one last time, just in case there are a couple of other of you who are interested in talking to Jesse or another member of our team. I know that you're out there. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. So thank you all for joining us.